Today we're going to be holding what's called the nth price auction, and this auction is a little bit different than auctions you've probably taken part of in the past. But there's a few easy steps, and we'll go ahead and I'm going to take a moment and explain those to you now. After my video explanation, the monitor will also answer any questions, and I'm sure everybody shouldn't be too tough for anybody to follow. So 4 steps in this auction. First step, examine the products, right? Before we ask you to bid on a product, you'll come up to the front of the room, or we might perhaps pass the product around just to make sure everybody has a very clear idea of exactly what they're bidding on in the auction. I don't think I'm giving anything too bad away here to say the first product's a candy bar. That's going to be a practice one. It's going to be hypothetical. It won't count for when it's for the candy bar. We're going to do that just to make sure everybody understands it, but you'll come up to the front and look at the candy bar, or perhaps the monitor will pass the candy bar around the room to make sure everybody knows exactly what they're bidding on. Now, step 2, once you've seen the product, you write down a bid. You have bid sheets, so this will be a bid that's written down, and you'll write down your bid on the bid sheet. Once we have all the bids, this is where it gets a little bit different. The monitor will collect all of the bids and order them from highest to lowest. Then we draw what's called an nth price. And I say we draw, but actually it's going to be one of you drawing it. The monitor right now will be holding up a little bin that contains laminated slips that go from the number 2, second price, all the way to the number of people in the room. So there will be several slips of paper in there, and the price for the auction will depend on the price of the slip that's drawn. So the example we have here, we had 10 people who bid on a concert ticket, right? And the highest bidder, you can see Pearson C bids $85, all the way down to the lowest bid of 0 and everything in between. The price in the auction, it won't be known yet. If this was the actual auction, collected all of these bids, we ordered them from highest to lowest. What then happens is the monitor would come around with a little bin, and somebody would draw the nth price. Now, let's say that the person who draws the nth price draws the 6th price. Right? The 6th price is drawn. What happens with the 6th price? Well, we see the 6th price drawn as $24.50. That's the 6th highest price in the auction. Everybody who bid higher than that would actually win the product in this auction. So you'd actually have 5 people who would win the product. All of them, though, they wouldn't pay their own price, right? They bid anywhere from $85 to $34.50. The people who won this wouldn't pay the price that they wrote down. They pay the price that was selected, the 6th highest price, which is $24.50. Now, if instead, right, you're drawing this randomly, there's slips of paper that go from 2, and if there were 10 people, like in this example, it goes 2 to 10. If instead, let's say it's the 3rd price that's drawn, well, then the price is $67, and the people who bid higher than the price that's drawn, they're still the ones who purchase it. So now only 2 people buy the product, right? Only 2 people wrote on their bids that they think it's worth more than $67. Those 2 people would purchase the product for $67. Now, what you end up really wanting here, from your perspective, is kind of hope the person draws a low price, right? You're not allowed to see this when you're drawing. You're just kind of grabbing out of the bin. But let's say it's the 9th price. Well, if it's the 9th price that's drawn, then 8 people get the ticket, and they all pay $9.90. I mean, that includes the people who, were willing to pay $65, $80, $85, $34, right? Nobody pays the price they wrote down in this example. Everybody pays $9.90. So I know this is a little bit different. The reason we do this is we're hoping to get your preferences from this, and this type of auction, while it's different, it gives you actually a very easy strategy to follow. If you ask yourself the question when you see the product, what is the most I would be comfortable paying for the product right now? That's what you should bid. And that's different than a lot of auctions. There's a lot of auctions where you should look at the you figure out what's the most I'd be comfortable paying, and then maybe you bid a little bit less because, if you win the product, you want a good deal. Well, this auction doesn't reward that, right? In this particular auction, you are better off bidding the most you'd be comfortable paying right now. You might have to pay that amount, but based on the luck of the draw, you could actually pay a lot lower. You'll never pay higher than the bid you write down, but most of the time, actually, you pay lower. The only way you pay the exact amount is if there's multiple people who bid the same thing. So if there's a tie, which can happen, it does happen sometimes. So you might pay the exact amount you bid, you might pay a little bit less, you'd never pay more. Because of that, this is not the type of auction where you should bid lower than what you think the most you'd be comfortable paying. On the flip side, though, I would not recommend bidding too much, because if you do bid too much, actually, you could put yourself in a position where you're paying more for the product than you really want to pay, right? If you think I mentioned there's a candy bar for practice. If you thought a candy bar was worth $1 and you bid $2 on it, you might end up winning it, but you might end up paying $1.50. Right? You don't want to pay $1.50 for something you think's worth $1. So, it's again, while this auction's complicated, the best strategy you could have for this is just to think, what's the most I'd be comfortable paying, and write that down as your bid. Your monitors now will take a moment to answer any questions you might have.